And we're officially at the 20-minute mark. How much of this do we actually think I can get finished with only 20 minutes? I hope it's not cheating if I've pre-prepped my canvas and added a textured overlay. I promise it took me less than a minute, so let's just get into it. To be honest, I have zero idea for what I want to draw other than the fact I want to do a dragon, so I'm going to start by doing some rough sketching and hoping an idea will form from that. I've really felt recently like doing a bunch of experiments, so this is a little bit of an outlet. Right now my head is completely empty though, there's no thoughts other than this cute cat. But this isn't a dragon, so I'm going to try think of something. Also, I wish I could make this smaller, but it's fine, I'll figure it out for next time. Okay, I might have an idea, I'm still thinking a little bit, let's roll with it for now. I'm going to jump straight into colour blocking because we don't have much time to waste it all. As per usual, I'm thinking of a foresty theme. It's my safe go-to when I'm under pressure and I'm definitely feeling that right now. It's really good to figure out what you like drawing early on, because then you'll always have something to draw when you feel like drawing, despite having no ideas. It probably won't be the same as what you like looking at, but it helps you out so much when you want to draw. You'll always have something safe to go to. I'm not worrying too much about the colours right now because I can go in and change them with the curves till later once I've got shapes a little bit more established. I'll know at that point what vibe I want to convey with the colours as well. To keep it honest with you, I did already make this video and spent 30 minutes trying to draw something, but unfortunately a lot of that footage was unusable. So my brain is extra empty because I already exhausted its energy today with the same thoughts and questions that I'm asking myself again. I'm really sad about that because I liked the art I made a lot. I'll still share that piece, but probably as a short, as my 30 minutes of footage dwindled down to about 2 minutes. I'm picturing in this opening there will be a dragon flying off of the edge of the cliff or something. I'm not sure what dragon to do. What's your favourite type of dragon? I kinda like wyverns and also leviathans, although I typically refer to those as noodle dragons. I think the lack of leaves is really throwing me off. I'm not sure if I like this yet, but I love using this brush to paint messy details like leaves, so let's just do a bunch. You know what they say about trusting the process, I'll just have to do it here, but with only 30 minutes I do fear a little that there's not much process to trust. I'm sorry for talking my own work down so much so early into the piece. I promise I'm usually my own biggest fan, maybe recolouring will save it. Okay, nope, never mind, I'm going to scrap this. I know I said I wouldn't, and I said trust the process, but we're going to scrap it in favour of trying to do something else with the 23 minutes we've got left. We're okay, we're going to come up with an idea. I said a lot in the last video I made that I don't sketch often because I don't like to sketch, but ever since I had to sketch for the sake of the video, I've found myself sketching a lot more. I'm thinking a lot about another painting I did called Overgrowth. I would really like to take some inspiration from it for this piece. However, and please let me know if I'm not the only one, I found when I take too much inspiration it feels like a rip-off of the original painting that I already like. I end up not liking the new piece. Okay, I'm not leaving myself as much time. It's going to be a 20-minute challenge at this point. Let's think. Thoughts have been thunk. So my brain went back to the last 30-minute painting I did where I originally painted a boat. First time round I filmed this challenge. It was a pirate boat in the middle of the sea and the boat had a dragon companion that was kind of like the wind in the sails of the ship, or a protector or foe depending on how you want to look at it. So because I already really liked that idea and didn't get to flesh it out as much as I would want to, I'm thinking I should do a continuation of the piece. After the boat has succumbed to time and the dragon has lost his purpose maybe. Maybe he, the dragon, can be alongside it still, friends or foes despite having lifetimes passed. Though I'm not entirely sure how I want to scale this boat because the dragon was huge, and I want to continue to convey that size. Is bright yellow too on the nose for a sandbank? I don't think it matters much, I'll play with colours later, but I have doubts that this is in perspective. There's not that much to be in perspective though, because there's only sea at the moment. And we're officially at the 20-minute mark. How much of this do we actually think I can get finished with only 20 minutes? At the moment, when I picture it finished, I'm seeing a low tide with the shipwreck resting on a sandbank, miscellaneous treasures sparkling in the sand, and its dragon companion asleep behind it. I hope I've got enough time to get all these ideas onto the page, even if they're not fully fleshed out. There also has to be loads of moss or algae in this case. The real question is, would it be too sad if I make it so that the dragon has also passed because of so much time having been spent sleeping next to and guarding the body of its lost friend? Well, that could be the story anyway, I just think it would be really neat to draw a dragon skeleton. To be honest, I don't often think about the stories in my work. It's something I kind of want to work on, but it's also something I'm aware that it is what it is, to an extent anyway. If I'm inspired to paint something, I'll paint it, and that's how it should be for the most part. Not everything has to have meaning and some grand story. You are okay to just create to create. That said, I do want to make it a bit grayer, since I think I'm trying to tell a sadder story. Or it's supposed to be sadder. And it will also allow the colours of the ship to pop a lot more, being the focal point and all that technical art stuff. I'm just about finished with the sky, and it's actually pretty good for something done in 2 minutes flat. Maybe too good, maybe I should have spent time doing other things. Oh well, it paid off in my opinion. I do want this water to be somewhat shallow, low tide and all, and I'm going to make this part a sandbank. Just not sure what colour to keep the sand because I don't know sandbanks and I've not got time to find references. Maybe black sand would be a cool contrast with the treasure sparkles and white bones. I'm also thinking about going live to paint something maybe start to finish with you in a similar talking style to this video, but I'm not sure how or where or if I have the time to sit still for possibly 5 hours. If you have any suggestions, or even if it's something you would even be interested in, please let me know, and I'll put some time in the next couple months trying to figure it out. I don't think I'm going to have time to paint proper ripples and waves on the sandbank, so hopefully by drawing it in like this, that detail can be implied. Implied detail is so useful if you don't utilize it in your own work. You're either one, an artist who just loves everything to be clean and spends upwards of 50 hours on a piece, or two, you might just not know about it. Brief explanation because this isn't supposed to be a tutorial, but basically implied detail is where you use scribbles or dots to imply a lot more texture and you don't try render it out. The eye looking at your piece will gloss over it and fill it in for you. I do like this darker colour, I think it just maybe needs to be more blue. Really love using hue, saturation, brightness, and the curve tool to add extra contrast. I think this is perfect. You'll need to trust me that the other colours will make this work towards the end. See, here's more of an idea with the sparkles added. I'm already liking this so much more than the forest I started. I definitely have a stronger vision for the piece. I really need to get a move on now that we're halfway through the time though. I am struggling with the ship perspective, but I'm sure it'll work out fine. Truthfully, it doesn't help that I don't know boats. I might need a boat expert to tell me if I'm missing stuff, more towards the end. I am trying so hard to not panic about being halfway through my time, but getting a clean, easy to understand silhouette is so important. Shape language and all that. Since I won't have much time for detail, having strong shapes will make the piece easier to understand and hopefully, at first glance, the eye will fill in more detail than I've actually drawn. We actually need to really give the ship some ship though, like flagpoles and such. I am so sorry for my boat terminology. You know when you have an image on the tip of your brain that you just can't process or pick out details for? The masts and stuff are hidden in those fuzzy detail parts of my brain at the moment. The way I'd describe it or could provide visual context is, imagine if you were looking at an AI image generator. Ew, gross, I know. But the image was changing constantly and it was never still. That's sort of how my brain is looking right now. There's a consistent image, the ship is always a ship, but tiny bits that I'm trying to focus on keep changing. The perk of this is, every time the fuzz details change, it sort of gives me a new idea for said detail, a bit like flicking through a catalogue until you land on something you love. So the huge gash in the bow of the ship and the treasure pouring out can be credited to this. One thing I do know about ships is the speed is measured in knots, but that is about it. This really is not going bad, I'm happy with that, it just needs more stuff. You know what, for basically a so far 10-minute painting, I'm really happy with this, all things considered. I'll definitely be spending an extra 5 hours on this piece after the time has gone off to just really clean things up and add a few missing details. I'm thinking that if we shift this ship's back wall shadow thing over to purple, it will make the yellow gold just pop a bit more. When we get to putting the yellow gold in anyway. I'd also really like to flesh this piece out because I think it would make an awesome print for my upcoming new print launch on the 6th of June. Let's get some planks on this boat so we can try get started on that dragon. I really want the vertical support beams to be showing because I think they'd mimic the ribs of the dragon's bones, just for some cool similarities. But as I keep saying, I don't think I've got enough time for that, so I'll keep many horizontal scribbles to represent planks, and wood detail. I'm really trying to utilise that implied detail with this piece. And thinking about the time limit, we're in our last 10 minutes. I've still not started the dragon. I really need to get a move on if I don't want to rush out the dragon in the last 5 minutes. So I think I'm just going to focus on getting this ship finished for a minute.
Never been to California, never been to LA, so I'll stay home and write these songs, pretend I'll make it someday. My friends are getting married, they're all settling down, so I'll lay here, watch the ceiling fan go round.
Okay, I didn't need to go as overboard as I have, but the ship detail is pretty much done. Let's finally get started on the dragon with 8 minutes on the clock. My head is still racing with all the details that I could possibly add to this ship though. I take back what I said earlier about spending 5 hours cleaning this up. I'm going to spend 5 hours on the ship alone. Maybe there'll be another 5 to spare for the dragon. I'm not sure what dragon type this would be. It would make sense for it to be a leviathan considering it's living in the sea. Or lived. But I'm doing it horse-like, I guess. No wings and 4 legs. Earlier it might have sounded like I know stuff about dragons, but I don't actually know what to call this dragon type. The earth pony of the dragon world? To be honest, I did the exact same thing the first time around. Full steam ahead until I remembered the bigger picture and rushed the dragon out in 5 minutes. I didn't learn my lesson. Maybe this time I will have, and I'll have to implement it in a prologue, I guess, to these 2 pieces. Maybe the reason the dragon is so attached to this ship is because it's stowed away on it as a baby, at the start of both of their lifetimes. If I go ahead with that, it's looking like what started as a 30-minute art challenge has grown to a 30-hour art challenge, because I will not sacrifice the quality of these pieces by only spending 30 minutes per piece. Side comment, unrelated, but I love painting vertebrae. Although I sadly think I'm going a bit too flat with the curvature of his spine here. I don't want to waste the time redrawing it, so I'm going to continue and then I'll just save it with the Legofy tool. I saved a few precious seconds and it's all fixed now. Although his spine does want to be behind the ship. It's moments like this where I wish dragons were actually real and we did have fossils to study of them. Because what does a dragon shoulder blade even look like? I'm grateful I'm keeping it really rough at the moment because a blob will work in this instance. I might struggle later though. Okay, I finished his ribcage and his tail end. He needs to have some eyes and some nostrils. Did any other artists go through a phase where they just drew skulls for like a year? Because that was me, and my favourite skull to draw was a deer skull or a tiger skull. That knowledge is really pulling its weight right now, at least for the placement of the eye holes and the nose. The horns should have some rings around them from where they pierce through the skin, but I can't add that right now. The same with the back of the skull. I think for shape language and time, it just makes sense for these big eyes to be blank. But I think time spent on a lower jawbone is what he deserves, for never leaving the side of his friend. I keep personifying the ship, but I don't actually have a name for it, and I think it deserves one written along the front. Could you maybe leave some name suggestions in the comments for both the ship and the dragon? Okay, the dragon is not looking bad for having spent 5 minutes on it so far. I think I'm going to use these whole 2 minutes to add as much detail as possible. I'll start with this gold in the ship, and hopefully I've got time for that moss or algae. You know what just crossed my mind? Barnacles. He also needs some barnacles, but I definitely don't have time for that. Seagulls perhaps living in the remains of our friends would also be a nice detail. A bit poetic, life in death and all that. I'm thinking this is all stuff that I'll have to add during the cleanup time after. I'm going to use the moss that's growing on top of him to sort of detail out his bones, add some more contrast to his spines and some face details. Got to love something for being multi-purpose when doing a time challenge. Plus we can put some on the ship, although at the moment it doesn't work with the perspective we have going. That might be the plank's fault though. Okay, we're in the last minute. Should I sign it? No, I won't count that. I think I can afford myself the luxury of signing it after the time stops. A lot of that fuzziness from earlier has gone away, and I have such strong details that I couldn't possibly fit them all into my remaining 47 seconds. I'm a little sad I didn't pick up on this idea sooner, but it's fine, the forest taught me something. I'm not sure what, but something. I wonder how far I'd be if I had spent the full 30 minutes on this piece though. I could have waves, seagulls, vines, more spilled treasure, porcelain pots and strings of pearls, maybe a few rubies. No, I definitely don't think I'd have all that time for all that detail. Right, I've barely shaded the sand dune. It kinda just looks like an oil spill at the moment. Alright, we have only 10 seconds, I still really want these sparkles. Although I'm not sure I should be focusing the last 10 seconds on little yellow dots. But I did focus on them in the last 10 seconds. I am genuinely so happy with this piece.